So let's begin again. Sorry about that, everybody.
It just takes 3 times.
It just takes 3 times. It's been months since we've been live streaming, and this is a brand new setup that we have. But like I was saying, I'll do this one more time.
Yeah.
Apple just announced their new headset, the Apple Vision Pro, and it's looking a lot more advanced than, say, this thing, the PSVR 2. So out with the old, in with the new, and that thing eventually will break if I keep doing that. So PSVR 2, very interesting. It's $550. This one's $3,500.
$3,500.
It's expensive, but it's super advanced. Krista, can you ask us some questions now that everybody can hear both sides?
So I'm going to play moderator today. I'm also going to be watching the chat really closely. So if you guys have questions for Matt and Kevin, drop them in the chat. Let us know what you think, and I'll make sure to share them with the guys for input. But Matt, let's start with the Apple Vision Pro, because I know that was something that we were you kind of knew was coming, but you didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. So in terms of your expectations, how did it perform?
I think it's not coming out till next year, and something I don't know if I need. That was my reaction. That was a lot of the Twitter reactions that I was receiving, and I don't think they're selling it nearly as much as hey, this is really awesome tech that I can understand. There's a need for it. By not demoing it. Maybe it takes demoing it to really understand what it's for, but I don't really imagine myself wanting to do Excel from different screens. That was not a great selling point for me. Living memories and almost feeling like you've taken that trip all over again and you're kind of immersed in that was a selling point. But I don't know how much people are going to want to invest in something that I thought it was going to be limited to developers, and they really didn't say that. This is a consumer product.
Yeah.
Very, very fascinating. I didn't see that part coming. But yeah, they
definitely
have yet to prove that I should spend $1,000 on this. Never mind, over $3,000.
$3,500.
Yeah, $3,500. That's a lot of money. People were saying that it's too much when it's going to be, everybody thought it would be over $2,000. This is a lot more. So, but it's interesting technology, and the amount of cameras they have in there. The display looks very, very high res compared to what we have with current VR setups. But Meta Quest 3 is coming out this fall, and that is probably coming out probably September, October, and that is $500. So you really got to imagine that the consumers are gonna want to go for something that is established, which Meta has. They have the pedigree with Oculus, and way cheaper, a fraction of the price. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Apple can do.
I think Apple's definitely selling on the sex appeal factor. It's the first shot you see of it. It's literally a scene out of Ready Player One. They do the spin around. The guy's strapping on the headset, and then you go directly in behind it. And then, it's also the fact that you don't have to wear anything. I mean, you have to wear the headset, but there's no wands. You just pinch, or you just look where you want to go. Safari.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually more. How do you guys feel about eye tracking technology and gesture technology? Do you think this is something that more consumers are going to lean into because of this product?
Yeah. I think it makes sense if you're not going to have controllers at all.
Yeah, I think it's necessary, and that's why you don't have the controllers. I saw a lack of gaming, which really is what surprised me more than anything. It was a lot of productivity work. It reminded me of HoloLens, Microsoft's now ill-fated project in augmented reality, AR. That it's that all over again, and they didn't get it off the ground. Instead, Microsoft has pivoted to being all about AI and ChatGPT. So it's kind of fascinating that Microsoft has given up on this concept and Apple is almost mimicking it in many ways, like, half a decade later, and they're picking up where Microsoft left off. If Microsoft is dropping an idea, and Apple's picking it up, I don't know what that says about the state of AR, but it's going to be interesting to see if Apple's going to do what Microsoft couldn't.
I think it's like, for Apple, it's just creating content that people want, or content that people gravitate to. They definitely bring Disney on was a huge deal, and it's like, oh, this humongous entertainment company's got stuff behind it. Like, it's got the Star Wars experiences, the What If experience,
They had ESPN,
Yeah,
so basketball,
yeah.
like they kind of demoed that. That was interesting. Any comments on?
I'm not seeing any questions quite yet on it.
People are mostly commenting on the price,
Yeah.
and that is definitely eye-watering, and it's not for everybody. It's not for a lot of people, is my guess. There are going to be some people who have a high-end device like that. Us, we beta test it, and we try to test it out as much as possible and review things. But yeah, it's a lot of money for something that almost has it's a vision of things to come, but I don't think it's quite there yet. So our hot take is you got to sell us. You have a year to sell us on this idea. Less than a year, really.
Yeah.
Early next year.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
people are
just
saying
like
beginning
said,
of 2026. That's like 6 months away. Like,
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
really think, obviously the price is going to price it out for most people, but even the developer community, do you think they're going to be ready in 6 months to support a product like this?
I think they probably had some developers like Disney, making stuff for this, obviously, because they made stuff for the demo. So they're probably going to be ready, and then smaller developers will develop things on their own in a quicker fashion than a big corporation. But I think they said they have 100 games ready to go for day one.
Yeah,
It's
Are those
interesting.
Apple ports? Are those Apple Arcade ports or what? But
it's pretty much you're gonna play everything in a virtual window.
yeah, and that's my big fear. The virtual windows do not cut it for me. They're like my go-to example is going to be Excel. I don't want to do Excel in a virtual window when I can just do it a lot easier with more clarity. I don't care how much PPI
They
pixels
did-
per inch a headset has.
They did show that it worked with Bluetooth devices, though. So, like, for example, if you had a keyboard or a mouse, you could have it on, and you could still have that same experience
And it's basically
on a
your desktop.
on a big display. Does that
Right.
make it more interesting to you?
Yes and no. It's more interesting, so factually yes, but no. Like it's not like a computer monitor that I can like look at with a lot of clarity. Kevin and I have experienced this in the Oculus / Meta headsets, and like we're looking at screens embedded in a virtual field, and like it's never as good as the clarity is never as good as actually looking at a 4K monitor or like even a 2K monitor. It just doesn't have that clarity.
Right.
So I don't know what they're doing there in terms of that's not a selling point for me. Maybe they'll change my mind. The clarity on this and the pixels per inch will be so, ginormous that I'm sold. But I don't see it yet. Do you have questions?
Somebody's talking about how much time and money it takes to make this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, like, what kind of product or profit margin do you think Apple's making on this product?
That's a great question. It all depends on obviously the M2 chip is in there, and they have this R1 chip, brand new chipset that goes that is sitting on the other side of the headset. They're kind of baked into right behind the display. It depends on how much those chips cost. Obviously, time and money to develop that is probably. They said they've been working on it for several years. I've heard like 7 years.
Really?
And yeah, so Tim Cook has talked about this for years in very vague terms on almost every single earnings call. He would get on and say, I think while VR, that's fine, I think augmented reality has a lot of potential, and we're interested in seeing where that goes. Never committing to anything, never detailing product, never saying we're working on this, but he was always kind of setting the stage for augmented reality over VR. Everybody's going for VR.
Sure.
Oculus,
Yeah.
PlayStation, all these
Yep.
companies, HTC, every company was going after VR, and Apple didn't really embrace VR. Qualcomm was going after VR in a big way. Google and Samsung. So Apple was kind of missing the boat on that, or so people thought. And then VR kind of fizzled out for several years in the past couple years. And now it's starting to get resurrected, but through the power of VR and AR. And we saw MetaQuest 3. It's going to have pass-through vision that kind of is colorized, so you can see almost like you're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
In addition to having VR capabilities. And Apple's definitely has waited until what they feel is the right moment, but the specs are still going to cost a lot of money, so I don't know how much profit they're going to make from this. I haven't checked in the past hour when we're setting up this live stream, but their stock went down as soon as they
Went
announced,
down. Yes.
Yeah, Reality Pro. So and if we go
Vision Pro.
Yeah, Vision Pro. Yeah, it was codename Reality Pro according to all the leaks, but yeah, and we can actually show some of it. This is file footage from Apple, and you can see someone wearing the headset right now, and it's cool looking. It's very slick. It reminds me of if you were to wear an Apple Watch, this is what it would look like.
It does. It is basically.
Come
Apple
on,
Watch,
that's
like,
kinda
the front is the
scary.
glass,
Yeah.
You got the giant crown. Next
Yeah,
to
it's
your
the crown.
forehead, next to your
Like,
arm.
look at that.
Yeah.
It looks sleek.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
I think the whole thing about this thing, it's not really about profit margins.
Yeah.
It's about sex appeal. It's like the Tesla Roadster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tesla Roadster was what started Tesla. It was very
Sure.
small yield,
Sure.
very limited market, but it's the thing that like sold everybody on it. And the fact that Apple's starting with Vision Pro, I feel like Apple's gonna come out with Vision period,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a cheaper headset, maybe $2,000,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be more mass market, but less featureful.
Yeah, and I think they could. The fact
Probably.
they have a Pro version,
Probably.
Start with Pro.
Yep.
they start with a Pro version,
Apple Vision Pro. You could see Apple Vision 2, Apple
right?
Vision
Or Apple
1.
Vision Air,
Yep.
right? Because
Yep.
they usually go
100%.
Pro and then have an Air. So that could be the Air.
I mean, look at what they've done with watches, right? Like all the different models of watches and like the scalability of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely could see them leaning into that, but they still need the consumer adoption there.
They do.
Yeah, I think the consumer adoption is actually gonna be like, I think the biggest selling feature for this headset, or maybe the most futuristic part,
Mhm.
is the fact that you can wear it and use it like a 3D camera. Like
Right.
it captures images and turns them basic holograms that you could re-experience later. The biggest problem, of course, is that you're wearing this headset in front of your kids, in like a sandcastle.
I
Or
can't
during your
can't
birthday.
see it, Kevin.
And,
I mean,
like,
I have
you're
2
literally missing
kids.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're literally watching it, but you're
Yeah.
not watching it, right?
But
Because
the
like,
thing is, like, that's where you start to do it. But then I feel like within a year or two, maybe 3 years max, you're gonna start getting iPhones that like can record those kinds of images.
Yeah.
And then once everybody starts creating that content, that's when people will start wanting to buy them. Just like 4K TVs, I guess.
Mhm.
It's probably the closest approximation.
that's
Where
cool.
I see this taking off is traveling. If you have an airplane, especially like if it's in first class or whatever, and like I put this headset on and I'm on a plane for 15 hours going somewhere, like I did last week when Kevin and I went to Computex. If I put this on and I can disappear for a little while, that's where I find this to be a really great thing. You have companies like Nreal, which is now Xreal, and they kind of have that MO of, we have a headset and it acts as a big screen TV for your eyes,
Yeah.
and you can have it in a place like a train or an airplane.
Yeah.
That's really where I see this being very interesting, where you can't have those monitors. monitors. But when I can have a monitor, I would rather do that currently, based on what I'm seeing from Apple's demos. But yeah, it sounds like
The
no
on
one's
the
gave me
go.
a demo yet,
The on the
and it
go
just
feature
depends on this
set
year.
works for you. I get that. I like the idea too of being able, like you said, to take it for travel, right? Like you're doing a hike and being able to capture that hike or,
Hmm.
capture a waterfall or something like that. That's kind of a cool experience and then reliving that trip. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, as long as you're not missing the moment by wearing these.
Yeah.
But if everybody starts wearing them, then it's a little bit of an easier sell. But if you're the only one doing it, it'll be like it'll be a lot like. Let me get this thing over here. It'll be a lot
oh
like
no.
wearing this thing, which is
What is that?
what is it? Do you remember
Google
this thing?
Glass?
It is Google Glass.
See,
So
I actually think Google Glass is a better look though. Like that's much more subtle
right,
than
Uh,
this
I don't
headset.
know. You look
it's
like a
Really?
Super Saiyan for the thing.
I like it. I like the AR glasses kind of feel because I think there's potential for glass designers, like actual glasses designers, like Matt's wearing glasses right now, right? To kind of
right.
build some of that technology within it in a really natural, less obnoxious way. If you put on these freaking goggles,
Mm-hmm.
Apple goggles, at a birthday party, everybody's going to be like, what the
Oh yeah.
heck is that?
Yeah.
You
Could
know?
you imagine being at a birthday party like, wait, let me. You shove your way
Hold
past
on,
everybody,
hold on,
like
before
you
you blow
shove your
out your
face
cake,
in, like,
before you go blow
wait,
out
let
your
me
cake, let
capture
me
a
get the
holographic image
camera.
of this. Yeah, exactly.
Too much.
Gosh.
All right. Do you have one or two more questions for us, and we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, so the other thing people want to know is your take on iOS 17. What were your favorite features? So, Matt, why don't you pick one feature and tell us why you love it? And Kevin, you pick one feature and tell us why you love it.
This is for iOS.
Okay. Yeah. iOS 17. I'm gonna cheat and pick two because one's kind of a
Oh my
yeah. All
gosh.
right. So autocorrect. That's a silly one, but man, I hope they fix the word ducking because I don't mean ducking. No one means
You
ducking when
you
they
saw that he said that in the script, right? That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
funny. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I love that they broached that head on. All right, what's your other
That's
one?
funny. So if you can get smarter and understand, this is where Apple falls behind. One area where Apple falls behind Google, besides trying out new hardware, but they're slow and steady with our hardware. Google just knows celebrity names and slang a lot more quickly than Apple, because they tend to know all of our data, and kind of Apple prides itself on not knowing our data. So I find that while that's all well and good for privacy, Google autocorrect is a lot better than Apple's, and it's a little slower to the take.
It's also predictive text. It's
Yep.
finally going to come here.
Yeah.
Like more predictive text.
And that's what needs to happen. All right, Kevin, take another one.
Let's see. The contact cards or the contact posters.
Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty cool.
it's a
It's
long
more
time in coming.
personalization, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your calling card literally pops up when your phone when you call
It's
someone instead of
that's
like
called it's called name drop, Kevin. It's got a
no, that's
brand
separate
name.
feature. That's
Oh,
like sharing contacts.
Sharing contacts. Oh,
Yeah.
through AirDrop.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
name
that's
drop,
Different
baby.
feature.
Yeah. So when someone calls you, I guess their personalized
Contact.
wallpaper takes
Yes, yes. I see.
Yeah.
I
You
see.
can show how you want to appear on the phone.
That's
when you call
nice.
people.
Yeah, but I also think it's like kind of aggressive. Like, what if I don't want everybody to know who's calling? Like, there's no way to hide it now. Like,
I feel
it's.
like they might include some sort of way to override it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, think about like personal things like doctor's appointments and things like that. Like, am I going to have a huge personalized contact card that
Yeah.
comes up? Like, I don't know. There's some things that I'm like, oh, that's
I
kind
wonder if
of.
you could limit how you broadcast that also. It's like, oh, only for these contacts, send it to these people.
Yeah, I think it's probably just iPhone to iPhone ish kind of content.
Yeah, it's definitely
But
only
it'll be interesting.
iOS users.
What do you guys think about the check-in feature? So being able to share your location and tell people when you get home. Do you think that's creepy or do you think that's cool?
I think that's good right now when Kevin leaves his apartment. and I want to know
Yeah.
if he's on his way. It forces me, if I get an alert from a geofence, it forces me to say, it says, we're going to let Kevin know that you're geofencing when he leaves or comes to this place. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
It
interesting.
reminds me of, it's in the same vein of it's checking up on people, but it's probably going to alert you. So it's not as privacy invasive as you might expect. As long as they
Yeah.
continue to build those
It
features
seems
in.
like a less invasive way to be like, tell me when you get home without
Yes.
sharing your location with me constantly.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's
which
what
is interesting.
yeah, I think that's what tech companies do best, and that's what Facebook did back in the day. That when they first came onto the scene, they did really well. Was people were like, "Oh, why are you posting this stuff? Can't you just ask people questions?" And my reaction was always, "Well, when people post something on their wall or publicly say something on social media, and then you go to talk to them, they don't have to talk about that thing anymore, but you can either react to it or ask the next question, right? It saves you on, you know, retelling a story, but that the person who meets you can kind of dive deeper into that or ask a follow-up question based on what they saw on a public Facebook wall. That was when Facebook was good. This kind of you ask the next question of, okay, I don't have to pester you with, are you home yet? Or have you left yet? But
Yep.
it gets you to ask a next question of, so how was your day? Or what did you see at the zoo? Or wherever you're coming back from. Or like, oh, I was really concerned, you got back late. Or I wasn't concerned because I knew where you were through these Find My Location features. I find that kind of does that same thing. It advances the conversation into the next thing instead of the pesky, I'm worried, I don't know where you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice peace of mind. With any other company doing it, some of the brands out there, you never know where that data is going, but Apple seems to be so privacy focused. It's less of a concern, but still, everybody,
And then
should know
one
where
other
the data is going.
one other thing in this vein, AirPlay. AirPlay support is coming to hotels, and that's
Yes.
getting a lot of buzz right now on social. Do you
I love
think
that.
do you think that that's good? What took them so long?
Yeah, I think it is dealing with a lot of hotels, and hotels tend to be cheap. They don't want to remodel. They're making their margins are thinner than say like a tech company or a clothing company. So you see how many times you go into a hotel room, a basic hotel room, and it has a very very old television that needs an upgrade. So they don't want to install new TVs or new
Mm-hmm.
services if they don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. So Apple forcing their hand a little bit over several years doesn't necessarily surprise me. So although you would think, hey, the technology is out there years ago, yeah, it definitely was. But to get all those companies to subscribe to your idea over Google's and over everybody else's, it's going to take some convincing some time. So that's where I think the hang up was for hotels to get on board. But then they start seeing the profit. Also, the hotels want to sell you movies when they don't want you watching Apple TV Plus. They don't want you watching Ted Lasso. They want you renting something because you have nothing else to watch. But now people just are going to watch it on their phone or their laptop, so I guess they kind of,
They have to give
themselves
in.
to think,
Yeah,
okay,
I
they're
think
gonna
that's
watch
a
it for
good
free
thing.
anyway. Might as well partner with Apple.
Well, it's
and something cool.
definitely
All right.
it's definitely Apple Play just for getting their name out there, getting their shows out there.
Yep.
It's just like, and then we're gonna work with major chains like Marriott or something like that, probably.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
Or, like,
I think working with the major change makes it easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all this, Krista, ties into both the headset, the hotel, getting people more involved in sticking with iOS 17 is Apple controlling as much market share as possible. So if you have Apple controlling, if you go to a hotel and they have AirPlay, and you're like, I don't own an iPhone, I own an Android. And okay, I don't have that feature. You get cut out of iMessages, you have an Android.
Yeah,
You-
I mean,
you
I
miss out
think
on
the
that. The
perfect
headset,
example
same
of
thing.
that, the perfect example of that was also the CarPlay announcement
Yes.
when they said anyone in the car with an iPhone, right, can finally connect to car AirPlay. If you're in that car and you have an Android device with all your friends and they can all put their favorite songs up, but you can't, talk
Yeah.
about like how annoyed you're gonna feel.
I have a question. Are you still in the car if you're in the trunk? I just sorry, Android users.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Um,
yeah, it's all about ownership for Apple, including the VR or the AR headset. They want to get into that space. Meta, Facebook, has definitely owned it and dominated it, but Apple wants to have
yeah, I mean, Tim Cook said ecosystem like 6 times today.
Yep.
And it's really interesting when you see him leaning so much into ecosystem and coming out of Google I/O, which we just had a month ago,
Yeah.
right? Where all they
That's
talked
what-
about was AI.
that's what-
I thought it was really interesting that Apple didn't lean into AI more. Like they almost kind of like they mentioned machine learning, but they didn't overtly take it.
I found that fascinating because I saw someone's tweet. I forget who it was, just a stream of tweets, saying how many times is Apple going to say AI during this 2-hour
Yeah,
conference?
yeah.
And really didn't happen.
Not.
And
Really,
I
they
think
did
that was
not.
obviously on purpose.
Mhm.
It's a good buzzword, and they said that they are interested in watching it, but that's the same thing that they said about augmented reality and virtual reality, a decade ago, or maybe 7 years ago. And yeah, they finally got around to saying, okay, we saw all the other mistakes that people have done. Let's not make those mistakes.
They've
That's
been
what
doing
Apple
that lately.
does.
I mean, do you think that Apple Vision Pro was worth the wait? Because obviously that's what it comes down to, right? Like they waited. You know, they probably had iterations of this product years ago that weren't as strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it worth the
Fun
wait
fly
for
on the
you?
wall, looking at that evolution.
It's probably worth still waiting for, honestly.
Yeah, I
See
think
how it
it's.
plays out.
I think that
It
is part of the
seems
reason
it
it's so
seems pretty full,
overpriced.
right? In terms of feature set and technology.
They
Yeah.
put on a good demo. I just don't know that I need it unless the content is there. I want to test. I am desperate to test it out just
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the tech. But do I need this when I go traveling? No, just hook me up with a laptop and Netflix. I'm pretty satisfied, and I think a lot of users are going to feel that same way, and that's where the stock has kind of reflected. Hey, this is a new gamble for Apple. It may not pay off, or it may be the next, $3,500 device that everybody's clamoring for.
Everybody had the same
Yeah.
feeling about the iPhone.
Yes,
And
the iPhone was overpriced when it first launched.
Yeah, totally.
And then it came down to $199 through subsidies, and we'll see what Apple can do to, kind of make that a thing. But not everybody has $3.5K lying around for something that is
No.
very unproven. So
No. Definitely
it's-
not.
it's,
Definitely
and
not.
You know what the thing is? Everybody had a cell phone, or a lot. Most people had a cell phone before they had an iPhone, right? And
Sure.
Apple proved, hey, there's a more advanced version of what is already out there. And it's kind of funny if you watch the new BlackBerry movie that released, highly recommended. But they kind of took over that market very, very quickly. But it was through almost a proven product category. I know it was more advanced touchscreen and everything, but VR, AR, not really a proven product category. No one is carrying around a VR headset, and
No.
they're coming out with a more advanced version.
No,
Like,
that's very
the
true.
market has stalled on this stuff. This PSVR 2 has sold 600,000 units, which sounds like a lot and has slightly outpaced PSVR 1 from 2016. But I really don't see it as a must-have gadget, and I think those numbers are kind of low. Sony was betting, according to reports, that they would make up to 2 million, and now they have that number, and now it's 600K currently. I think the 2 million was by the end of the year that they would need that.
Mhm.
I don't think it's taken off.
And
I
it's a
think
very
even Sony
specific
does
use
that.
case, right? Like with
Yeah.
that, it's very clear. Like I need this in order to play VR games.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the one issue with this offering from Apple is what's the clear use case? Like you said, you know what you don't want to use it for.
Yeah.
Is the memory, the 3D memory scanning, is like the immersive entertainment. It's very, very cool, but it definitely comes back to that do I need it factor.
Yeah. And so far remains to be seen. And we might not see it until fall of this year when they have their computing event, or September when they have their iPhone event. They'll probably give us an update, but you know, like early next year is a long time away, and not a long time away at this very same time. So we'll see.
You won't really see real content outside
Yeah.
of Apple's main partnerships
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a while.
right. And it's not
also-
like, yeah, good.
I was just gonna say, you know, Apple's very closed. Their ecosystem is very closed.
Yeah.
Sure.
So all those like HTC games, all
Yeah.
those Steam VR games, all the PlayStation stuff,
Are
it's
they,
Yeah.
gonna take a while to get there.
Yeah.
If at all.
Right. Are they going to be
Yeah.
ported over?
Yeah.
Is this something that can handle that? What are the specs behind it? So I'm sure we'll learn a lot about it through deep dives and everything. But
Yeah.
And it's like complete standalone. You can't connect to a PC or a Mac
right.
as of now, anyway.
Yeah.
No.
So super
All right,
interesting.
I have one takeaway question for you guys, and it's a question that I've been pondering all morning since wrapping WWDC, and that's we saw Apple announce a lot of silicone. Are they going to become more of a chipset maker? Like, are they going to potentially sell this R1 chip to other augmented reality or VR people,
yeah.
or the M2 chip? Could you see that being a business they could get into?
No, I think they're going to keep everything in-house. I think their play for technology has been to partner with as many expert manufacturers as possible, and then eventually say, that's great, but we can do this on our own now. They've done that with like Power Graphics or whatever, that basically the GPU maker for the iPhone, to the point where that company overnight almost went out of business. When they're like, hey, we're going to make the GPU now for the,
Woof.
the iPhone. And it's like, sorry, small business that got propped up by Apple, you're now history.
Yeah.
They came back, but it's very much, they even want to make their own 5G chips, much to Qualcomm's detriment, and to the point where there was a legal battle back and forth.
I remember
They
that.
went with
Yeah.
Intel for a number of years for their 5G modem.
Yeah.
And that didn't end well because the 5G modem from Intel wasn't nearly as good as it could have been as the Qualcomm one was. So they went back to Qualcomm, despite being bitter enemies. Anyway, their entire MO is, let's keep everybody gated in our ecosystem and make everything ourselves so that we're not spending on outside partners. It's all built in-house, which is
It's all done to control price, right? At
Yes.
the end of the day, like if you have that type of vertical integration where from the chipset component all the way to the end piece that goes to consumers, the retail box, if you're able to completely control that in-house, you control pricing every piece of that. So it is interesting to see them come out with this at such a high price, especially when it was rumored lower. And it makes me wonder if this is a high price intentionally that they are going to kind of roll back either with cheaper models or through retail and exclusive partnerships, right? Where maybe, if you buy it through Verizon, there's a discount, or they can start offering it through some of their other partners and lean on their mobile branch to bring it to market.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
I think they brought Disney on stage, not by mistake. I think you're going to start seeing some headsets in some parks, probably.
Yeah.
In some
That's
very
cool.
particular experiences.
That may be
Yeah.
the most important partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting that
definitely.
out there. I mean,
All
if
right.
you go on Disney Channel and they all of a sudden have kids wearing it, that is like the ultimate promo.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying though too.
Yeah.
Or like the next Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
hit
oh
the-
yeah.
Oh,
the
wow.
future or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up there.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
moderating,
guys.
Krista.
Thanks for jumping on. Yeah. Hope that
Thanks for
we
watching, folks.
help share some
Yeah. Thanks
insight if
everybody.
you
Thanks
guys
for your
have
questions and
questions.
chats.